The alarm screamed across the Earth Defense Force headquarters. Captain ran to the main control room, his heart pounding. He had been a military officer for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Sir, the barrier is collapsing," said Lieutenant Park, his fingers flying across the holographic display. The young engineer's face was pale. "The energy field around our solar system is breaking apart." Stared at the screens. For as long as humans had looked at the stars, they had found something strange. An invisible wall surrounded their entire solar system. Scientists had studied it for centuries, but nobody could explain what it was or who built it. Now, it was disappearing. "How long until it's completely gone?" asked. 2 hours, maybe less," replied. Within minutes, every telescope on Earth turned toward the barrier. What they saw made the entire world hold its breath. Ships. Hundreds of massive ships waiting just beyond the edge of the barrier. They had been there all along, watching. Doctor arrived at the control room. She was Earth's best expert on the possibility of alien life. Her hands shook as she watched the alien vessels move toward Earth. "They've been waiting for this," she whispered. "They knew the barrier would fall." The alien ships entered Earth's space slowly, almost carefully. The largest vessel moved toward Earth's moon and stopped. A message came through every communication device on the planet, translated perfectly into every human language. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Confederacy. We come in peace. We need to talk." The world governments acted quickly. They sent a delegation to meet the aliens. Was chosen to lead Earth's military representatives, would lead the scientific team. They boarded a shuttle and flew toward the alien mothership. The inside of the alien vessel was strange and beautiful. The walls glowed with soft light. The air smelled like flowers that didn't exist on Earth. Then they saw them, the aliens. Ambassador stood 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were large and golden. Behind him stood dozens of other creatures, each one different from the last. Some had scales, others had fur. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. "Welcome," said. His voice was deep and surprisingly gentle. "We have waited 50,000 years for this day." 50,000 years, asked. "Why, what is this barrier? Why were we trapped?" His face showed something that looked like fear. "Your people call yourselves humans. The rest of the galaxy knows you by another name. The sealed ones, the last creation, the emergency." Felt anger rising in his chest. "You've kept us prisoner for 50,000 years, and you call us an emergency." "Not us," said quickly. "The ancient custodians built the barrier long before our civilizations existed. They left instructions, strict rules. The most important rule was this: never let the humans leave their world." "Why?" demanded. Looked at his fellow ambassadors. They all seemed nervous. "We don't know the full reason. The custodian records are incomplete, but they left warnings. They said humanity was dangerous, that you were different from any other species in the galaxy." Who had come along as a technical assistant spoke up. "We're not dangerous. We've never even met another species until today." "That's what worries us," said another alien, a small creature covered in silver fur. 50,000 years in isolation, and your species went from primitive hunters to space-capable civilization. That's incredibly fast. Too fast." The meeting lasted for hours. The aliens explained that the Galactic Confederacy contained thousands of different species across millions of worlds. They had laws, trade, peace treaties, and occasional wars. They had existed for tens of thousands of years. Earth was always there, always sealed, always watched. The custodians, whoever they were, had vanished long ago, but their barrier remained, until now. "What happens now?" asked. "The Confederacy Council will meet," explained. "They will decide whether to welcome Earth or take other measures." "Other measures?" His voice was cold. "You mean whether to destroy us?" Didn't answer, but his silence said everything. Back on Earth, the human delegation reported everything to the world leaders. President called an emergency session of the United Earth Council. "They're afraid of us," said. "The question is, why? What did these custodians know about us that we don't know about ourselves?" Had been working on something during the trip back. He had managed to copy some data from the alien ship's public databases. What he found was disturbing. "I found references," he told the council. "Thousands of them. They all mention something called the Human Protocol. There are warnings, restrictions, emergency procedures, all about us." He brought up the files on the main screen. The room fell silent as they read the alien text, translated by the ship's computers. "Never engage humans in close combat. Human adaptability rates exceed all known species. Psychological warfare ineffective against human determination. If humans breach containment, activate Protocol 7 immediately." "What is Protocol 7? Asked General O, head of Earth's combined military forces. "I don't know," admitted. "That file was locked, but I found something else, a fragment of an old custodian message." He played an audio file. The voice was strange, layered, like many voices speaking at once. "They will survive what others cannot. They will adapt to what kills others. They will thrive in chaos. This is what we made them for. Guard them well until the time comes. The galaxy will need them." The room erupted in confused voices. What did it mean? Made them for what? Doctor stood up, her mind racing. "We need to find out what the custodians did to us, why they created this barrier, what we really are." Over the next few days, the Galactic Confederacy debated Earth's fate. Some wanted to welcome humanity. Others wanted to rebuild the barrier. A few extreme voices called for Earth's destruction. While they argued, human nature showed itself. Earth's nations didn't panic or fight each other. Instead, they united faster than ever before. They shared technology, resources, and knowledge. Within a week, they had reverse-engineered some of the alien technology from the data had stolen. Watched as the first human ship capable of faster-than-light travel rolled out of the construction bay. It had taken the aliens thousands of years to develop this technology. Humans had done it in 7 days by studying stolen data and filling in the gaps with human innovation. "Maybe," he said quietly too, "the aliens are right to be afraid of us." The Confederacy made their decision. Earth would be granted provisional membership. But secretly, many alien governments began preparing for the worst. They didn't know what the custodians had created when they made humanity. But they would soon find out. The barrier was gone, humanity was free, and the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years had passed since the barrier fell. Commander Lee Sara stood on the bridge of the Discovery, humanity's exploration vessel. Through the viewport, she could see the planet they had named New Haven. It was their 20th colony world. "Atmospheric readings are ready, Commander," said her science officer Minu. He looked at his screen with confusion. "This doesn't make sense. The radiation levels should kill us in minutes, but the colonists we sent down 3 months ago are not just alive. They're thriving." Sora remembered the first colony, New Terra. The Confederacy had warned them that the planet was too dangerous. High gravity, thin atmosphere, toxic soil. Human colonists went anyway. Within a year they had built thriving cities. Their bodies had somehow adapted. Children born there grew stronger, their lungs more efficient. "It's happening again," Sora said. "Just like on Iron World and Cloud 9 and Frost Haven." Minu nodded. "The medical data is clear. Human DNA is changing in real time. We're adapting to each environment within a single generation. Commander, this isn't normal evolution. This is something else." Back on Earth, Minu's twin brother, Doctor, was making a breakthrough in his laboratory. He had been studying human DNA for 3 years, ever since the first colonists started showing impossible adaptations. "Look at this," he told his colleague, Doctor. He pointed at the holographic display showing a strand of human DNA. "See these sequences. They don't match any known Earth evolution. They're artificial, engineered." "Engineered by who?" asked, though she already knew the answer. "The custodians," said. "But here's what's amazing. Human DNA contains fragments from dozens of different alien species. Species that went extinct millions of years ago. It's like someone took the best survival traits from 1,000 different creatures and combined them into one species. Us." Felt a chill run down her spine. "We're not naturally evolved. We're designed." "Not just designed," corrected her. "Weaponized. Every adaptation, every trait is optimized for survival in extreme conditions. Humans can eat almost anything. We can survive in temperatures that kill most species. We heal faster, adapt quicker, and our brains are wired for problem-solving under stress." While scientists uncovered humanity's secrets, Ambassador faced growing hostility at the Confederacy Council. She sat in the vast chamber, surrounded by hundreds of alien delegates. "In 5 years, the humans have colonized 27 worlds," accused Representative, a reptilian creature from the system. "It took my people 5,000 years to colonize 5 worlds. This expansion is aggressive and dangerous." "We're not being aggressive," replied calmly. "We're accepting volunteers and settling on worlds that other species considered too dangerous. We're not taking anyone's territory." "That's exactly the problem," said another delegate, a floating jellyfish-like being. "You settle worlds we cannot. You survive conditions that kill us. You're expanding into spaces we considered uninhabitable. Soon, there will be humans everywhere." It was true, and knew it. Humanity's expansion was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They were filling the gaps between civilizations, turning dead worlds into living ones. On the colony world of, Governor Han was exploring ancient ruins. The planet had once been inhabited by a species called the Architects, but they vanished millions of years ago. Was a historian, fascinated by ancient civilizations. He found the inscription in a collapsed temple. The writing was in a language that predated the Confederacy, but had brought translation equipment. As the computer decoded the text, he felt his blood run cold. "We were the first," the inscription read. "The builders came to us when the darkness appeared. They said they would create a solution, a species that could survive anything, a species designed from the ashes of the fallen. They took our DNA and the DNA of every dying species they could find. They mixed it together. They said this new species would be the galaxy's last hope. They called them the Inheritors. We called them the final weapon." Immediately sent the information to Earth. Within days, scientists were comparing the inscription to human DNA. The matches were undeniable. Humanity was the final weapon. The tensions exploded on the colony world of Far Reach. A fleet from the Dominion arrived without warning. They were one of the galaxy's warrior species, feared for their brutal military tactics. Captain Nam commanded the small defense force on Far Reach. He had only 3 ships and 500 soldiers. They had 20 warships and thousands of warriors. "This world is now property of the Dominion," their leader announced. "Surrender or die." "This is a human colony," replied. "Leave now or face the consequences." They laughed. They had fought wars for thousands of years. Humans were newcomers to space. This would be easy. They were wrong. The battle lasted 3 days. They had superior numbers and technology, but they had never fought humans before. Human tactics were unpredictable, creative, and savage when needed. Soldiers who should have died from their wounds kept fighting. Strategies that should have failed somehow worked. Captain led ground forces personally. When his weapon jammed, he picked up a rock. When that broke, he used his hands. The warriors, bred for combat, found themselves facing something they had never encountered. Humans who simply refused to stop fighting. On the second day, human colonists, Farmers, engineers, teachers picked up weapons and joined the fight. They had no military training, but they learned fast. Too fast. By the third day, they retreated. They left behind half their forces, dead or captured. The message they sent back to there was simple. The humans are not normal. They are something else. Avoid them. The Battle of Far Reach changed everything. News spread across the galaxy. The species that had been isolated for 50,000 years had just defeated one of the most feared warrior races, and they had done it while outnumbered 4-1. Ambassador called to a private meeting. The tall alien looked worried. "Do you understand what you've done?" he asked. "They have been defeated before, but never like this. Your people fought with a ferocity and determination that terrifies the entire galaxy." "We defended our home," said simply. "What would you have us do? Surrender?" "No," said quietly. "That's exactly what the custodians predicted. You don't surrender, you don't give up. You adapt and overcome. That's what makes you terrifying." He brought up a holographic map of the galaxy. "In 5 years, humans have done what takes other species centuries. You've colonized hostile worlds, mastered technologies, defeated a major military power. The Confederacy is dividing into factions. Some want to destroy you before you become unstoppable. Others want to ally with you. A few want to flee the galaxy entirely." Flea was shocked. "Why?" Looked at her with his golden eyes. "Because the custodians left one more message, one that we didn't share with you. It said, when the barrier falls, the humans will rise, and when they rise, the darkness will follow. They were made for this. The question is whether the galaxy will survive long enough for them to fulfill their purpose." Back on Earth, Doctor was presenting his findings to the Global Council. The holographic display showed the complete map of human DNA. "We are not a natural species," he said. "We are a combination of thousands of extinct alien species, carefully engineered for one purpose: survival. The custodians took the best traits from every species they could find and created us. We're not just adapted for Earth. We're adapted for anywhere." President Bay stood up. "If we're designed, if we're weapons, then what are we supposed to fight?" Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded across the room. An emergency transmission came from the edge of Confederate space. The message was brief and terrifying. "Unknown vessels detected at Galactic Rim. They destroyed the system in hours. Billions dead. They're spreading fast. They're not ships, they're something else. Something that consumes everything. Send help. Send." The transmission ended. Commander Sara received the same message on the Discovery. She looked at her crew. "Plot a course for the Galactic Rim. Maximum speed." "Commander," her pilot said nervously, "the Confederacy is calling for a full retreat from that sector. They're saying nothing can stop whatever this is." Sara smiled grimly. "Then they haven't seen what humans can do yet. Engage engines." The darkness the custodians warned about had arrived, and humanity, the final weapon, was going to meet it head-on. Shin had always loved languages. She spoke 12 human languages and had learned 5 alien ones since the barrier fell. Now, as Earth's best, she stood before the most important door in the galaxy. "This is the archive," Ambassador explained. "The custodians built it before they vanished. Inside is knowledge from 1,000,000 years of galactic history. Most of it is locked. Some of it is dangerous. All of it is protected." Next to stood Nam, the soldier who had defended Far Reach. He was assigned as her protection. His hand rested on his weapon as they walked through the massive doors. The archive was on a world called Keeper's Rest. No one lived here except the archivists, an ancient order dedicated to protecting the knowledge inside. The head archivist was a small, bird-like creature named Whisper. "You seek information about the custodians," Whisper said. It wasn't a question. "And about humanity." "Yes," replied. "We need to understand what we are, what we were made for." Whisper's feathers ruffled nervously. This knowledge has been sealed for 50,000 years. The custodians left strict instructions. This information should only be revealed when the darkness returns. The creature paused. It has returned, hasn't it? Nodded grimly. 3 star systems have gone dark in the past week. Whatever these things are, they're spreading fast. Whisper led them deep into the archive. The walls were lined with crystal data storage, glowing with soft blue light. Finally, they reached a chamber that pulsed with golden energy. The custodian vault, Whisper said, only opened twice in recorded history. The first time was when they sealed Earth. The second time is now. Placed her hand on the access panel. The vault recognized her human DNA and opened. Inside was a single crystal, larger than all the others. Whisper carefully retrieved it and placed it in a reader. The room filled with light and a holographic figure appeared. It was humanoid but taller, with skin that seemed to shimmer with starlight. The custodian. "If you are watching this," the custodian said, "then the barrier has fallen. And if the barrier has fallen, the devourers are returning. I am Keeper, the last of my kind. This is our story and your purpose." The hologram showed images as the custodian spoke. Watched, her heart pounding. 50,000 years ago, the galaxy was dying. The devourers came from beyond our dimension. They were not creatures. They were hunger itself. They consumed matter, energy, life, thought, everything. They spread across the galaxy like a plague. The images showed beautiful worlds turning to dust in moments, fleets of ships dissolving into nothing, entire civilizations screaming into silence. We, the custodians, were the oldest and most advanced species. We led the defense. We, every species, every world. We fought for 1,000 years. Trillions died. Hundreds of species went extinct. But we won. Barely. The hologram showed a massive battle. Technology beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. Weapons that tore space itself. And in the end, the devourers retreating through their dimensional portals. "But we knew they would return," Keeper continued. "And we knew we would not be here to fight them. Our species was dying. The war had cost us everything. We had perhaps a century left before extinction." Felt tears on her face, stood rigid watching. "So we created a solution. We studied every species in the galaxy. We took samples from the strongest, the most adaptable, the most resilient. We took genetic code from 1,000 dying species and combined it. We designed something new, something that could survive anything." The hologram showed laboratories, custodian scientists working frantically, and then the first humans. "We called you the inheritors. We gave you the best traits from every species we could save. The strength of the healing of the adaptability of the mental resilience of the determination of the piece by piece, we built you. But you gave us more than just physical traits," Keeper said. "We gave you something no other species had. We gave you a survival drive that borders on madness. We made it so you would never surrender, never give up, never accept defeat. We made you stubborn beyond reason, because that's what the galaxy would need." The hologram showed Earth, green and blue. "We found a perfect world and placed you there. We sealed it away so you could develop naturally, protected from galactic politics and wars. We set the barrier to fall when you reached a certain level of technology. That would be the sign that you were ready." Keeper's expression became sad. "I will not lie to you. We made you to be weapons, but we gave you free will. We gave you choice. We could have made mindless soldiers, but we made people. We made you capable of love, art, compassion, and mercy. We made you dangerous, but we also made you human." The hologram flickered. "The devourers are returning. Their vanguard is already here. The main swarm will follow. The current galactic civilizations are not ready. They grew in peace, protected by the victory we won 50,000 years ago. They are soft, but you are not. You were forged from the ashes of the fallen. You carry the legacy of 1,000 extinct species. You are their children, their revenge, their hope. The devourers consume everything, but we made you to survive what consumes others. We made you to thrive in chaos. Keeper stepped closer to the recorder, his voice intense. The galaxy will fear you. They will call you dangerous, unstable, too aggressive. They are right. You are all those things, but that is exactly what we needed you to be. The devourers cannot be defeated by peaceful philosophers. They can only be stopped by survivors willing to do whatever it takes. The hologram showed one final image, a weapon, vast and complex. We left you one more gift. Hidden in your DNA is a key, a frequency that disrupts the devourer's dimensional coherence, but it only works when generated by human neural patterns. Your minds are the weapon. Your determination is the trigger. Together, you can push them back. But understand this, Keeper warned. Using this weapon will cost you. Many will die. The neural strain will kill thousands, but if you don't use it, the galaxy will die. Billions will be consumed. This is the burden we placed on you. This is your purpose. The hologram faded, but Keeper's last words echoed in the chamber. We created you to save the galaxy. We gave you the tools. The rest is up to you. Be strong, be determined, be human. That is enough. The recording ended. The chamber fell silent. Couldn't move, she understood now, everything. Why humans adapted so quickly, why they never gave up, why the galaxy feared them. They were designed that way. We're weapons, said quietly. We were made to fight something that destroyed the most advanced civilization in galactic history. No, said, finding her voice. We're survivors. The custodians could have made weapons. Instead, they made people who could become weapons if they had to. There's a difference. Whisper spoke carefully. What will you do with this knowledge? We tell everyone, said. The Confederacy needs to know. Humanity needs to know. We were made for this. The devourers are coming, and we're the only species designed to stop them. They transmitted everything back to Earth. The recordings, the data, the truth. Within hours, every human and every alien government knew the story. The Confederacy Council erupted in chaos. Some species wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to flee the galaxy. A few wanted to fight. President Bay addressed both the human and alien leaders. I won't pretend the custodians' choice wasn't terrible. They made us into living weapons without asking our permission, but they also gave us life. They gave us a chance, and they gave the galaxy a chance. She looked directly at the camera, knowing billions were watching. The custodians asked us to save the galaxy. They believed we could do it. I say we proved them right, not because we were designed to fight, but because it's the right thing to do. Back on the Discovery, Commander Lee Sara had reached the galactic rim. What she found made her blood run cold. The Devourer Vanguard was massive. Hundreds of entities, each one larger than a moon, moving through space and consuming everything in their path. She watched as they approached an inhabited planet. The world didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next it was gone, consumed, converted into more devourers. Get me a tactical analysis, she ordered. I want to know if we can hurt these things. Her weapons officer worked frantically. Commander, our weapons are useless. They don't have physical bodies in the traditional sense. They're partly in another dimension. Our missiles pass right through them. Sora smiled grimly. Then we'll have to get creative. The custodians said we're good at that. Contact the fleet. Tell them we're going in. In looked shocked. Commander, that's suicide. Maybe, Sara agreed. But we need data. We need to understand what these things are. And the only way to do that is to get close. As the Discovery flew toward the Devourer swarm, Sara thought about what she had learned. Humans were designed for this. Every instinct, every trait, every stubborn refusal to give up. It was all for this moment. The galaxy was about to see what humanity was truly made for. General O watched the holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked worlds under Devourer attack. There were too many of them. In just 3 weeks, 47 systems had fallen. Billions were dead. The Confederacy is fracturing, reported Colonel Park. Half their fleets are retreating to defensive positions. A quarter are trying to evacuate their home worlds. Only a few are actually fighting. And the rest asked. His expression was grim. They're attacking us. 3 alien fleets have hit human colonies in the past week. They think if they destroy us, the Devourers will stop. That's idiotic, said. We're trying to help them. Fear makes people stupid, replied. They're terrified of the Devourers and terrified of us. Some of them would rather take their chances with extinction. Activated the communication system. All Earth Defense Initiative forces, this is general. We're now operating under emergency protocols. Defend all human colonies. Do not fire on alien civilians. But if their military forces attack us, defend yourselves. Make them regret it. At the colony world of Iron Ridge, Captain watched enemy ships enter orbit. The collective had sent a fleet to destroy the human settlement before the Devourers arrived. They thought they were being smart. All colonists to shelters, ordered. She had 3 small defense ships. They had 20 warships. The odds weren't good. The battle lasted 6 hours. The ships were faster and had better shields. But ships were crewed by humans. Every time a system failed, they fixed it. Every time they took damage, they adapted their tactics. When their weapons ran out, they used their ships as rams. By the end, 12 ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated. Ships were barely holding together, but the colony was safe. She sent a message to the government. Next time, send more ships. They didn't attack again. Neither did most other species after they heard what happened. Word spread across the galaxy. Fighting humans was costly, too costly. Doctor was working on something else. She led a secret project on Earth, studying the genetic weapon the custodians had hidden in human DNA. She had made a breakthrough. Look at this, she told her team. The frequency is there coded into our neural patterns, but it's dormant. We need to activate it. How? Asked her assistant. By understanding what we are, said. The custodians didn't just give us physical adaptations. They gave us the ability to consciously control our own evolution. We can accelerate it. She brought up data from the colonies. Every human living in extreme environments shows active genetic changes, not over generations, over weeks. Our bodies respond to need. Now we need to learn to direct that response. Within days, she had developed a process. Humans could now trigger their adaptive abilities deliberately. Soldiers who went through the process could survive in hard vacuum for minutes. They could resist mental attacks. Their healing speed increased dramatically. We're becoming what the custodians designed us to be, said with wonder. No, corrected. We're becoming what we choose to be. The custodians gave us the tools. We're deciding how to use them. At the Confederacy Council, Ambassador faced accusations from dozens of species. Your people are changing too fast, said Representative. You're adapting, evolving, becoming more dangerous every day. How long before you decide you don't need the rest of us? Stood calmly. We're defending ourselves because you attack us. We're adapting because the Devourers are coming. Everything we do is for survival, just like the custodians designed. That's what scares us, said another delegate. You were designed to survive at any cost. What if that cost is us? Then you don't understand humans at all, replied. She brought up footage from a recent battle. This is the mining colony of Deep Rock. The Devourers attacked it 3 days ago. The colony had 500 humans and 2,000 refugees who were sheltering there. The footage showed human soldiers fighting desperately, not to save themselves, to save the civilians. 70 humans died holding the line long enough for them to evacuate, said quietly. They could have run. They had ships. Instead, they stayed and fought because it was the right thing to do. The custodians made us survivors, but we choose to be protectors. The council chamber fell silent. Then one delegate stood, then another. Soon half the council was standing, acknowledging the sacrifice. "The collective pledges support to the human defense effort," announced the representative. "We will fight alongside you." More species joined, not all of them, but enough. The galaxy was finally starting to unite. The Devourer Vanguard hit the Helios system, a major trading hub with 6 billion inhabitants. Commander Lee Sara arrived with a fleet of 30 ships, including 15 alien vessels that had joined the defense force. "This is the line," she said over the communication channel. "We don't give them this system. We don't give them these people. We stand here." The Devourers came like a wave of darkness. They were massive, partially existing in another dimension. Conventional weapons barely touched them. "Deploy the experimental resonators," Sara ordered. These were weapons based on the frequency hidden in human DNA. They weren't perfect yet, but they were the only thing that worked. The battle was brutal. The Devourers consumed 2 planets before the defense fleet could stop them, but they did stop them. For the first time, the Devourers were forced to retreat. "We hurt them," Sara reported to command. "Not enough to destroy them, but enough to make them pull back. We can fight these things." The victory was small but important. It proved the Devourers could be resisted. News spread across the galaxy. Hope began to replace fear. Captain volunteered for the most dangerous mission yet. Intelligence had located what appeared to be a command vessel in the Devourer fleet. Someone needed to get close, gather data about their structure and weaknesses. "I'm not ordering you to do this," Sara told her. "This is a suicide mission." "I know," said, "but we need that data, and I'm the best pilot we have." She took a small stealth ship, modified to avoid Devourer detection. The journey into the heart of their fleet took 3 days, recorded everything, transmitted it back continuously in case she didn't make it. She reached the command vessel. It was massive, the size of a small moon. She flew close, her sensors recording its energy patterns, its dimensional frequencies, its structure. Then alarms screamed. They had detected her. Didn't panic, she was human. Panic was optional. She activated every weapon she had, targeting the weak points she had identified. The damage was minimal, but she got what she came for. Data. Valuable, life-saving data. "This is Captain of the Earth Defense Force," she transmitted. "If anyone is listening, I'm uploading all scanned data now. Use it well, fight hard. Don't let them win." The Devourers closed in, set her ship to self-destruct, and transmitted one final message. "Tell my family I chose this. Tell them I did it gladly. Humanity doesn't surrender." The explosion was tiny against the vastness of space, but the data she gathered changed everything. Back at Earth's research labs, scientists analyzed data. They found the weakness. The Devourers existed partly in another dimension, which made them hard to hurt, but that also meant they were vulnerable to certain frequencies. "We can build a weapon," Doctor announced, "but it requires human neural patterns to generate the frequency. We need volunteers, thousands of them. Their minds will be linked through the custodian network. The strain will be enormous. Many won't survive." General looked at the data. "How many would we need?" "At least 10,000, said. "And they need to maintain the frequency for hours, maybe days. The survival rate will be less than 50%. "We need to ask for volunteers," said. "Nobody should be forced into this." They broadcast the request across all human worlds. They explained the risks clearly. They needed 10,000 volunteers willing to risk their lives. Within 24 hours, they had 3 million volunteers. "This is what the custodians saw in us," President Bay said, watching the numbers climb. "Not just the ability to survive, the willingness to sacrifice for others. They made us strong, but we choose to be heroes." The volunteers gathered on Earth. Among them was Bora, a young cadet barely 18 years old. Her instructors had tried to talk her out of volunteering. You have your whole life ahead of you, they said. Exactly, she replied. That's why I'm doing this, so other people can have their whole lives too. As the volunteers prepared for the neural linking process, Ambassador stood before the Confederacy Council one last time. In 3 days, humanity will activate a weapon that could push back the Devourers, she said. Many of our people will die in the process. We're not asking for your help. We're doing this anyway. But after this, I hope you'll remember. The species you feared, the weapons you wanted to destroy, they're dying to save you. She paused. The custodians made us to fight, but we're fighting because we choose to. That's the difference between a weapon and a person. Weapons don't choose, we do. And we choose to protect this galaxy, all of it, including the people who tried to destroy us. The Council had no response. They could only watch as humanity prepared to do the impossible. The final battle was approaching, and humanity was ready. Fleet Admiral Song commanded the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 2,000 ships from 40 different species, all united under one goal: stop the Devourers. He stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching the holographic display. The main Devourer swarm was approaching the Confederacy core worlds. They had 3 days at most. Status on the neural weapon, he asked. Commander Shin, now serving as his communications officer, replied. 10,000 volunteers are in position on Earth. The custodian network is online. Doctor says they're ready to activate whenever we give the order. Nodded, he had read the reports. Best case scenario, 5,000 volunteers would die from the neural strain. Worst case, all of them. And among those volunteers were people he knew. Friends. His own daughter. Admiral, the Devourer Vanguard is engaging our forward positions, reported the tactical officer. All ships battle formation, ordered. This is where we make our stand. On Earth, Bora lay in a neural linking pod along with thousands of others. She could feel the presence of other minds around her, connected through the ancient custodian network. It was strange but not frightening. Doctor's voice came through the speakers. Volunteers, you all know the risks. When we activate the network, your minds will generate the frequency that disrupts the Devourers. The longer you maintain it, the more Devourers we can push back, but the strain increases over time. She paused. I want you to know that you can disconnect at any time. There's no shame in that. You've already given more than anyone should ask. Bora smiled. Around her, she felt the determination of thousands of other humans. Nobody was disconnecting. Not now. Not when the galaxy needed them. We're ready, she said, speaking for all of them. Start the activation. The network came alive. Bora felt her mind expand, connecting with thousands of others. It was like becoming part of something vast and beautiful. 10,000 minds thinking as one, yet each maintaining their individual will. Frequency generation in 3, 2, 1, announced. Activation. In space, the battle was not going well. The Devourers were too many, too powerful. They consumed ships faster than the fleet could respond. Admiral watched as 3 entire battle groups vanished in minutes. Admiral, we're losing this fight, said his second-in-command, Captain Nam. Then everything changed. A pulse of energy swept across space. It wasn't visible to the naked eye, but every sensor on every ship detected it, and the Devourers reacted. For the first time, they showed pain. The massive entities began to shake and distort. Their forms flickered between dimensions. They were destabilizing. The frequency is working, someone shouted on the bridge. The Devourers tried to adapt, but they couldn't. The frequency was specifically designed to disrupt their dimensional coherence, and it was being generated by 10,000 determined human minds who refused to stop. All ships press the attack, ordered. They're vulnerable now. The fleet surged forward. Weapons that barely scratched the Devourers before now tore through them. One by one, the massive entities collapsed, their forms dissolving back into the dimension they came from. But on Earth, the volunteers were suffering. Bora felt the strain immediately. It was like carrying a massive weight with her mind. Minutes felt like hours. The pain was intense, spreading through every thought. Around her, she felt other minds flickering, disconnecting as the strain became too much. "Hold on," she whispered, though she wasn't sure anyone could hear. "Just hold on a little longer." Doctor watched the medical monitors with growing horror. 30 volunteers had already died. Hundreds more were in critical condition, but the frequency remained stable. The survivors were pushing through the pain. "We should shut it down," her assistant said. "We're killing them." "No," came a voice through the speakers. It was Bora. "Don't stop. We can do this. We have to." Felt tears on her face. "You're all heroes." "We're just humans," Bora replied. "This is what we do." In space, the tide of battle had turned completely. The Devourer Vanguard was in full retreat. Ships they had consumed were being released as the entities lost cohesion. Entire worlds that were partially consumed began to stabilize. But then something changed. The main Devourer swarm arrived. His heart sank. The Vanguard had been massive. The main swarm was 10 times larger. Hundreds of Devourers, each the size of a moon, emerged from dimensional portals. "Get me a count," he ordered. 817 Devourer entities, the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Admiral, we can't fight that many." "We don't have a choice," said quietly. "Tell the fleet to hold position and tell the volunteers on Earth." He paused. "Tell them we're proud of them." On Earth, the volunteers felt the main swarm arrive. The strain doubled, then tripled. The Devourers were trying to overwhelm the frequency by sheer numbers. Bora screamed, but she didn't let go. Around her, more minds winked out, dying from the neural overload. But the survivors held on. They poured everything they had into the frequency. Every ounce of determination, every bit of stubborn human refusal to surrender. "This is what we were made for," Bora thought through the pain. "The custodians designed us for this moment. Let's show them they chose right." Something shifted in the network. The survivors weren't just generating the frequency anymore. They were amplifying it, feeding off each other's determination. The pain was still there, but now there was something else. Pride, purpose, unity. The frequency suddenly doubled in strength, then doubled again. In space, the effect was immediate. The main Devourer swarm stopped advancing. The massive entities began to shake violently. Then, one by one, they started to retreat. "They're falling back," someone shouted. But knew better. They're not falling back, they're being pushed out. The frequency is driving them away. He was right. The volunteers on Earth had tapped into something the custodians had hidden in their design. When humans united with a common purpose, when they combined their determination and will, they became more than the sum of their parts. They became unstoppable. The Devourers fled, returning through their dimensional portals. The fleet pursued, destroying as many as they could. Within hours, the entire swarm was gone. The battle was over. The galaxy was saved. On Earth, the neural network powered down. Of the 10,000 volunteers, 6,000 survived. 4,000 had died from the strain, but they had saved billions. Bora woke up in a medical facility. Her head felt like it was splitting apart, but she was alive. A nurse told her what happened. The Devourers were gone, pushed back to their own dimension. The frequency had worked. "How long?" Bora asked. "How long before they come back?" "The scientists say at least a century," the nurse replied. "Maybe more. The frequency damaged their ability to cross dimensions. They'll need time to heal." A century. Time for the galaxy to prepare. Time to build defenses. Time to get ready for the next invasion. President Bay addressed the Galactic Council 3 days after the battle. The chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. "The custodians created humanity to be weapons," she said. They were right. We are dangerous. We are stubborn. We are relentless. But we're also compassionate. We're also capable of sacrifice. We choose to use our strength to protect, not to conquer. She looked around the chamber. Humanity accepts its role as the inheritors of the custodian legacy. We will stand guard against the darkness. We will protect this galaxy, not as rulers but as guardians. That is our choice. The Council voted unanimously. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Confederacy. More than that, they were entrusted with leading the defense against future Devourer attacks. Ambassador was appointed as the head of the Galactic Defense Initiative. Her first act was to establish joint human-alien defense stations at key points across the galaxy. Not just military bases, but centers of cooperation and learning. "We'll teach you what the custodians taught us," she told the alien engineers. "How to adapt, how to overcome, how to survive. And you'll teach us what you know. Together we're stronger." 1 year later, Shin stood at a memorial on Earth. 4,000 names were carved into the black stone. The volunteers who died to save the galaxy. Heroes who would never be forgotten. Among them was someone she had connected with during the neural linking. A young man named who had maintained the frequency even as his body failed. His last thought, shared across the network, was simple: worth it. "Yes," said quietly, touching his name on the stone. "It was worth it." Across the galaxy, humanity continued its expansion. But now they weren't alone. Alien species that once feared humans now worked alongside them. Joint colonies were established. Mixed species crews became common. Understanding replaced fear. Commander Lee Sara, now Admiral Sara, led the first joint exploration fleet into uncharted space. Her crew was half human, half alien. They discovered new worlds, made first contact with isolated civilizations, and spread the message of unity. On one such world, they found evidence of another ancient species. More ruins, more warnings, more hints about the Devourers. "The fight's not over," Sora said to her crew. "The custodians won their battle. We won ours, but the Devourers will come back eventually. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but someday." Her first officer, a named, asked, "What do we do until then?" Sora smiled. "We prepare, we grow, we explore, we live. That's what the custodians wanted, not just for us to survive, but to thrive. To fill the galaxy with life so that when the darkness comes again, it finds a galaxy too bright, too strong, too stubborn to be consumed." A message reached Earth from the edge of the galaxy. It came from a civilization in a neighboring galaxy that had detected the Devourer signatures approaching their space. They were panicking, unprepared, facing extinction. President called an emergency session of the Defense Initiative. "They need help," he said simply. "They don't have the custodian legacy. They don't have our advantages, but they have the right to survive." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would help. Within a week, Admiral Song led a fleet toward the other galaxy. They carried the frequency technology. They carried knowledge. They carried hope. "We were saved by the sacrifice of those who came before us," announced to his crew. "Now it's our turn to save others. That's what it means to be human. That's what the custodians saw in us." Bora, recovered from her ordeal and now a lieutenant, stood on the bridge of one of the ships. She was going to another galaxy to fight Devourers again. It should have scared her. Instead, she felt proud. "The custodians made us to survive," she said to herself. "But we choose to do more than survive. We choose to help others survive too. That's the real gift they gave us. Not just strength, but the will to use it for good." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying humanity's message to the stars. The barrier was gone. The isolation was over. Humanity had learned its purpose. They were the inheritors of ancient knowledge, the guardians of galactic peace, the survivors who refused to let others fall. They were dangerous, yes, but they were also defenders, protectors, hope bringers. They were weapons designed to save, not destroy. They were human, and the galaxy was better for it. Far away, in a dimension beyond normal space, the Devourers licked their wounds and plotted their return. But they were afraid now, afraid of the species that refused to be consumed, afraid of the creatures who turned pain into power, fear into courage, and desperation into determination. They would come back eventually. They had to, it was their nature. But when they did, they would find a galaxy united, a galaxy prepared, a galaxy defended by beings who carried the legacy of 1,000 fallen species and the strength of human will. The custodians had gambled everything on one final creation. They had combined the best of a dying galaxy into one species and hoped it would be enough. It was. Humanity had inherited the stars, and they would defend them. Forever,